And then, like you said, just investing and being in the game. It's like sports betting. I don't know if you guys are into sports betting, but that can take, a really crappy game and make it super interesting just because you've got $20 on the line. And it's kind of that same thing with commercial real estate. If you've got $5,000 in there, you're going to pay attention to why it's working or not working. You're going to read the investments reports closer. You're just going to pay attention to that thing, and whatever you focus on expands typically. What is up, guys? Welcome back to How to Invest in Commercial Real Estate. We are a commercial real estate investment podcast breaking down commercial real estate investment for the average person. And today we've got an interesting topic based on a phone call that Joel had the other day. Joel, take it from here.
Yeah, so I was on the phone with a young guy, just graduated with his master's, and we actually had interviewed him. We didn't really have a position for him, but he had recently got a job here in Tulsa. But he was calling me to ask me how to get started in investing in real estate. And no one's asked me that specific question in a long time. And I remember struggling to answer it. And I'll go into a couple of reasons why, but it's what we do. But he didn't have very much money. He said he had about $15,000 and he didn't have a lot of experience. And he's like, should I buy a condo? Should I buy a house? And I'm just thinking in my mind, okay, $15,000, what kind of condo can you buy? Is that really what I should recommend him doing? I started buying cheap houses, but that's a long road.
Yeah,
I don't know that would be my preference of choice if I was going to start it over. And I just found myself struggling a little bit on how to direct him. And the reason is it's been 20 years since I started that journey. And when we started the journey, there was no internet to speak of, very, very little internet. And so
You're showing your age.
Yeah, I'm showing my age. This is back in 2003, 2002, 2003. Gosh. And so back then, my mentors were like late night infomercial guys telling you to invest in real estate, and the occasional book that you would get handed. And so my journey at the beginning was very different than someone's journey is going to be today. And so I thought, why don't we do a podcast where we kind of talk about advice for beginners that is more relevant to today. If we were going to give that advice, what would we tell them? So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, well, my first piece of advice is don't buy the condo. That's step number one.
That was my first thought when Joel first told me about that. It's like you said, it's such a long road, and I'm sure things that were going around in your mind thinking, well, I hate to tell this guy some road that's going to take him 20 years. I'd like for him to get started right away.
Yes.
And get successful right away. So how do you do that? So I assume you've had some time to think about it now, right?
Yeah, I have had some time to think about it. I actually, I talked through it on the phone with him some, and then since then I've been thinking about that, and that's why we're going to do the podcast today about it.
Yeah, I think at $15,000 and hey, where do I start? I think the start is an investment in education in commercial real estate investing. Invest that $15,000 into learning more and getting more experiences in commercial real estate, so you've got a better footing.
Yeah, maybe he buys some books with it, maybe attend some conferences with it. It's not going to take the whole $15,000, but
like Joel said, in 2003 or 2004, you couldn't just Google how to buy an apartment complex. Where now you can Google that, you can YouTube it, and you can pull up hundreds of hours of videos and podcasts and people explaining how to do this. It's just it's not foreign like it was with the access to information that we have today.
There's an unlimited amount of information, but let's talk about so you're listening to the podcast and you say, well, Joel, that's me. I've got $15,000. I thought you wanted me to invest in real estate. If that's your only $15,000, then we don't want you to invest that, because let's say you invest $15,000 in a passive income, you get it in real estate earning money. Yeah. Well, now you're making $1,500 a year.
A nice dinner.
Maybe $2,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're making $100 a month, $125 a month. That's not going to move the needle for you. And if you're doing it on your own, let's say you go buy a condo with it. Well, now you've risked your nest egg on your first deal without a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of have broken it down into a few different steps. But like you said, Braden, the first thing that anybody needs to know before they come to me is that they're not really ready for a mentor like me to day one, right? I'm buying $10 million apartment complexes. I'm raising equity. I'm doing that kind of stuff. And they're just starting the journey. Well, whoever's going to help them start that journey and all the resources they're going to have, the ones that I use don't exist anymore. Most of the guys that I mentored, nobody even knows their name. And so I wasn't in a position, I'm not in the game of how to start a real estate career, because that's not what I'm doing right now. Yeah. And so I don't know I didn't know all the websites to go to. I don't know the current, best-selling authors that are doing this stuff. And so for me, it's pointing them back into education, and so they can not only get the experience, but decide what direction they want to go. Maybe it is the condo, maybe it's a house flip, maybe it's raise equity and try to do an apartment complex, or maybe it's find deals for syndicators like us and partner their way in.
Yeah, they need to learn enough and get enough of a foundation to know which direction they want to go and what interests them, and right.
But we are going to give them some actuals. So
so some good books to start with. A solid book you should start with is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Personally, haven't read it, but Joel has. Joel loves the book. Talks about it all the time.
Yeah,
I did read it. It wasn't just the book, but I don't know, looking back, if I agree with everything that Rich Dad says, but he definitely unlocks your mind to what's possible with real estate, passive income, flipping commercial properties, things like that. So that's a good start.
There's another guy I follow. He's got a podcast called Raising Capital for Commercial Real Estate. It's a guy named Hunter Thompson. And he runs a commercial real estate investment firm very similar to ours. They go and solicit investments from limited partners, but he does a really good job of just breaking down some of the technical stuff that we try to do here.
And his is interesting because he's actually not doing the real estate investing. He's finding good sponsors,
right? And
he's matching capital with sponsors and getting rich doing it. Mm-hmm. And so that could be a beginning step, because you're not an expert on the deal flip, and so, or the investing side. But he's a good marketer, and he's connected with sponsors. So,
yeah, he's really good at aggregating investors, just limited partners to go place in a deal. That's his strength for sure. Another really good one I found that was super helpful was a guy named Keith Cunningham, and he wrote the book called The Road Less Stupid. And the book is really good, but the questions after the book are even better, because it's a level of thinking and comprehension and evaluation of your own work ethic and goals and day that really holds you accountable. And
I read that one. Crap. Yeah, at the end of I like those questions at the end of each chapter, because he really makes you accountable, right? He makes you think about, well, are you really doing the right things and going in the right direction? And he challenges yourself with these questions that he has at the end of each chapter.
Think and Grow Rich, another good old book, but good book.
I'll tell you one while you're looking for that I read that you guys probably haven't heard of, but it's called the Due Diligence Handbook. And what I found was each chapter is only 2 or 3 pages, but one chapter might be how to calculate net present value. Another one was a checklist on actual doing due diligence. But it had about, I don't know, it seems like it was 30 or 40 chapters, and each one was just real quick on a different sort of commercial real estate topic. Really short though, and I felt like it gave me a good understanding really quickly of some of the things you need to know just technically.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of really dense books with thick words where you can dive into on real estate with a lot more technical background. But another really good book to start with would be Think and Grow Rich, just because Napoleon Hill, the amount of people he was able to aggregate and kind of fulfill his vision, it was pretty amazing. It was a good one.
Point on books is that there's going to be books for days, books for weeks, but look, get the books, start reading them. There'll be some that don't catch your attention, but I remember early on, there were some of the weirdest books I would find on commercial real estate. One I remember I got at like a garage sale or something, just weird, and it was an old book from the 1970s. It wasn't even that applicable in 2003, but it did take you step by step through formulas, calculating cash flow, income and expenses, contracts, purchase and sale agreements, and how to understand the terms. It was just basic stuff. And since I didn't know anything, I didn't need the best-selling commercial real estate book at the time. I just needed information. And so with books, just get your hands on books. Go to Amazon, Google the best books for beginning real estate.
That's how I found this due diligence handbook.
Yeah, and just get 10 of them. Order 10 of them and spend 30 minutes a day reading, and you'll be way ahead.
Yeah.
Another one, when I was talking to him, I'm like, you need to get connected with people that are in your situation.
Yeah.
There's thousands, if not millions of people that are right now on the journey of figuring out commercial real estate. There's communities that you can get into. And so, I thought about, websites and, Facebook communities, but Bigger Pockets is a really good one for beginner investors. It has tons of blogs, tons of videos, book recommendations, case studies, and that'll get you connected with other real estate investors where they're posting about their experiences.
That's a great idea.
And let me just say a couple other websites. If you're looking for passive investing, you can do like CrowdStreet, FundRise, DiversiFund. All of these allow you to invest smaller amounts of money, like $1,000 a pop or $5,000 a pop. And so you can get in the game with 1,000, let's say, on a deal, but then you're going to get access to that information. It'll get you kind of, once you invest, now you're going to be attuned to learning everything you can about that.
A lot of those websites have really good blogs and podcasts. I know CrowdStreet's got a podcast and a blog, and they just bring up some really good questions. And then, like you said, just investing and being in the game. It's like sports betting. I don't know if you guys are into sports betting, but that can take, a really crappy game and make it super interesting just because you've got $20 on the line. And it's kind of that same thing with commercial real estate. If you've got 5,000 in there, you're going to pay attention to why it's working or not working. You're going to read the investments reports closer. You're just going to pay attention to that thing, and whatever you focus on expands typically.
A couple other websites I'll throw out. RealtyTrack, that's a great website for like foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, things like that. If you're looking to make, sometimes that's how you get your seed money, is flipping houses that can give you enough cash to start into the commercial side. Zillow is a good resource. It has the most listings. Active Rain, it's like the Facebook for real estate investing. It's a network that people are getting on and posting about. Another one is adventuresincre.com.
Oh, that's a good one.
And so, for you need to have a model that you're going to use to help you track income, expenses, and your profits and your cash flow. And so this website has models like that. They have videos that teach you how to use them. I used Excel, and I was just kind of messing around when I first started. But now, in the last 20 years, technology's taken over, and people have just written specific models for every different type of real estate investment that you want to do, whether it's a house, office complex, retail, development. And so there's sites out there. That's one of them.
Yeah, that site, Adventures in CRE, I want to plug that a little bit longer. They've got 20, 30 different models where the guy's got a 30-minute YouTube video walking through the model. It's a pay what you can concept. So you'll go in there, tip $5, $10, $15, $20. They release updates, if somebody finds an error, which is pretty rare, but they're constantly making them better and refining them. But solid models, and you just download them in Excel, and then you get the open Excel workbook, and it's plug and play.
No, that's great. So what's another area I was thinking about, like maybe education or conferences or things like that?
Yeah. Well, as far as education, I've looked at a lot of podcasts, or at least I've Googled podcasts, because frankly, I want to see what other people are doing to help us, right?
Yeah.
I think we actually have a pretty good podcast, but I've looked at some others. What I did find, I really haven't gone to certain podcasts, but what I did find is there's hundreds of them on commercial real estate. So if you want to Google commercial real estate podcasts, and a lot of people don't want to take the time to read a book, right? They're driving to work for 30 or 45 minutes, going to work, and 30 or 45 minutes back. They want to listen. They want to crank it up to 1.5 or 1.75 speed, and they want to, frankly, that's what I do. Yeah. Because I want to learn as fast as I can. I don't want to read a book. I want to listen to people talk at 1.75 the normal speed and learn at that pace.
No, that's a good point. You can do that with audiobooks as well.
Yeah, right, with audiobooks, right. So there's just hundreds of those. That's the easy way.
Yeah, and depending on where you live, that's literally hours a day of just mind-numbing music. I love music, love jamming to music in the car, but you're literally in your car hours a day, some people. Yeah. Hours a day that you could just be soaking up information on real estate.
Yeah. And then the other thing you mentioned, conferences. So I know we've attended, Braden and I know you have too, attended the NAIOP conferences. That's a nationwide, that's National Association of Industrial for office,
industrial and office properties, but it really includes all the,
it really,
the major ones.
The ones that I've been to, it just includes everything, right? They kind of cover everything. So
for commercial real estate, a great education is CCIM.
Yeah.
Certified Commercial Investment Manager, but it's really commercial real estate focused.
That'll take every bit of that $15,000 you have saved up for your education.
You can take their courses, which I recommend, but they are expensive. But they do give you a lot of really good information. For the person that doesn't know anything about real estate and didn't take any math, it could be a little challenging. But that's one.
Yeah, and if you're a broker and you don't have your CCIM, I mean, you can tell a commercial real estate broker that isn't as comfortable with commercial real estate investment sales. You know what I mean? Because the investment aspect versus the inherent value of the real estate aspect is two completely different things.
Well, we obviously aren't looking for beginners in commercial real estate conferences or beginners, in real estate conferences. So we're not up to speed there. I guess that's a Google for people that are listening. But I would say there's got to be some that are available to you, and it's really just getting to know what you don't know, getting to know all the terms, getting to know all the areas that you can invest in commercial real estate, because you don't even know where you want to go yet.
Yeah.
And like we've said in a previous podcast, you have to know where you want to be, where you want to end up. That'll help guide your decisions. So
if not, you just go to a buffet.
Go to the buffet.
There's some really good softwares that are pretty cheap. If you find yourself getting into commercial real estate, or you decide to buy some rentals, or you start investing, some serious cash, and you want to start keeping track of it, there's a really good software called Appfolio. It's an online web-based. I guess most apps are web-based these days, so you can access it anywhere. But it's property management, it's syndication management. It's really a one-stop shop, and it's really affordable. There's a couple other, Syndication Pro and RealCrowd, a bit more expensive, a bit more sophisticated, but really good software is when you start getting in and need to track some of the data.
So in closing, what I want to say for everyone out there is I want to be as much of a resource as I can to people. I didn't have any mentors helping me. I mean, I had in books or on CDs, but not in person. And so I want people to feel confident enough to call us. But what's going to be important is you can't call us saying, what do I do? Right? Or how do I do it? Or what we need is get enough base of knowledge and education that you come with questions. Hey, what's your opinion on this versus this?
Yeah.
House flips versus condo. What's your opinion on a 100-unit apartment complex versus a 20-unit?
Yeah.
Or those kind of things. Hey, would you take a look at this deal for me and give me your thoughts?
Yeah. Or how do I raise the equity to do those deals? Right? Because just like this guy that called you that only has $15,000. I like what you said. He's going to have to probably partner with somebody, right? Because $15,000 isn't going to buy you something too big, or he's going to have to raise equity on his own, or he's going to need to raise money from family and friends. So I think that's for a lot of people who say I just don't have the money. I think that after they get this foundation, I think that's probably where they're going to have to go.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, good luck, guys, and hopefully we can be a resource. Don't feel free to reach out by email.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.